Okay, wait, before we even get into today's episode, I have the most exciting news and I cannot hold it in any longer. I'm doing something completely crazy. I am throwing a conference. So I am hosting my very first live event, live podcast taping, and career conference in Toronto on August 14th. So if you have been loving the podcast, you need to be in the room. Career Cravings Live is what it's called, and it's officially happening next month. So it's going to have all of the things, and this is not like a boring, stuffy conference. This is happening in a gorgeous space on King Street. There will be baristas. We will be filming the podcast episodes live. I'm also doing free headshots for everyone that comes with my personal photographer. This piece alone is worth over $250. You will be in the room networking with hiring managers, HR professionals at top companies, and recruiters. And I will also be coaching you live to help you land your next HR role. And we are going to have a delicious lunch together. It's going to be one of those gorgeous summer days where you look back and say, that is when everything shifted for my career. So I just started talking about this and the tickets are going super fast. The tickets are limited and the link is in the show notes. So save your spot today. And I cannot wait to see you live. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. So in today's episode, I'm breaking down how you can prepare for your next interview in 30 minutes or less. So this is exactly what I teach in my signature methodology that I coach all of my clients on. And I need to tell you what just happened. So this is what sparked this episode. One of my clients just landed a role and she ended up going through the process. Within weeks, she ended up being in final interviews and she knew what the salary band for the role was. It was a 6-figure salary. This is not luck. The job was posted for less, but through her interview process, she used this methodology. They knew she was the perfect candidate and then ended up hiring her for $15,000 more than they ever even posted. So I'm going to break down exactly how she did that. Her name is Jo, and I posted this recently on my Instagram stories. P.S. If you're not following me on Instagram yet, what are you even doing? So I'm Career Coach Irina on there, and it's also linked in the show notes. So she walked into the interview preparing for it using the HR STAR model, but I'm going to share how you can prepare for your next interview in 30 minutes or less. So in this episode, I'll walk you through exactly how she did it, step by step. This is the same system that I've used to help over 500 clients land their next roles, even when it feels impossible, and to get results like you heard about today with Jo. So if you've ever wondered, what should I focus on? I only have a limited amount of time. Maybe you only have 1 day, 1 hour, 15 minutes to prepare. Here is what you are going to do. Step by step, this is the episode for you. And by the way, if you are looking for more interview tips, there is also my free interview guide in the show notes. You can swipe up and download it today. Now, when Jo told me that story, I was so freaking excited for her because it is so incredible to go through an interview process for a 6-figure role and be excited about the opportunity. But how much sweeter is it to get an offer that you never even expected? So she ended up getting $15,000 more than the highest tier in the band that they had shared with her. Now, I'm so proud of her because what she did was apply the interview methodology step by step, showed up super confidently. And then what that did was help her stand out in this market. Obviously, the other side has seen her as a top candidate and because of that had offered her an incredible salary to keep her. Now, of course, she was so excited. She did not need to negotiate. She accepted. And it was a yes. So while all of this excitement's happening with Jo and her signing that super exciting 6-figure offer, at the same time, I'm at a conference and I meet this career coach who we've never met in the past, and he's introducing himself, and his question, so I came off stage and his question to me was, Irina, it's such a challenging job market, like you talked about, and like no one's getting any offers. And then the ones that people are getting are not very interesting. How are you able to get client results? Like what tools are you using? What systems are you using? Are you using AI? Like what are those things? And he was sharing that he's not able to get his clients results and it keeps him up at night. I told him that it is my own methodology, and he was bewildered. And he was like basically sharing that no one's landing offers while this at the same time is hitting my inbox. So there is lots of advice out there. I totally get it. And there's some advice that works because it is intended to make you show up as a top candidate. And that's what we're going to be focused on today. So you might be preparing with very little time for your next interview because I know sometimes life happens and sometimes the interview just pops up, especially with phone screens. They could be asking you to meet the next day. And I never like to say no. I always love to meet the company on their time if possible, because the sooner you can speak to them, often the sooner you can move on to the second stage without them contacting even more people, right? So this time can be in your favor when you're ready, especially when you know how to prepare for an interview. If you're wondering how to go and be able to pull this off, I've got you. If you've only have 30 minutes to prepare, this is what you need to focus on. Let's break it down. Okay. The system that I always love to prepare my clients with is doing pre-work. So if you've been here for some time, if you've listened to some of the other episodes, reflection pre-work happens before any interview ever comes. So the most effective way to prepare for an interview is by mastering something that I like to call your top 5 stories. Now, this is something you probably haven't heard of before because it is my own methodology, and this is just one of the steps. So inside of my signature program, I have answers to every single interview question broken down by level and how to exactly answer it. And this is not your typical STAR approach. This is my approach. But inside of the interview preparation modules, there's a way to prepare taking 30 minutes. So I've had so many people come to me in the past. They're like, I'm taking like half a day or a day and I don't have that kind of time. And that's not what you need. And you've probably heard, if you've listened to the episode where I had Upsana or Kayla on, they both said they were able to answer their interviews super confidently and effectively by using this system. And this is exactly what also got Jo that 6-figure offer beyond her expectations. Mastering your top 5 stories. What does this mean? So it's looking at your 5 biggest accomplishments. Now, where most people go wrong is they start to wonder, what are the interview questions I'm going to be asked? And that's a fair question. If you had 17 weeks to prepare, you could think of every question they might ask you, including what color crayon are you? Or how about a time you did this or that or this or that? And the list is endless. And I don't focus on that because you can't control what they ask you. You can never control that. You can only control yourself. The way you'd actually master your interviews is by focusing on top 5 stories. So your top 5 stories are the things you're the most proud of. You, in the interview, once you have an effective framework, will actually be able to pivot those stories no matter the question that they're asked. So for example, say you have a top story on one of the things that you are super proud of accomplishing. Okay. And this is an example of some of your best work. This could be a problem that you solved. So a top story could be a result that you delivered, a challenge you overcame, a leadership moment, a time you went above and beyond. So it could be any of those things that's aligned with the type of role you're going for. Okay. And when you're asked an interview question, having one of your top 5 stories top of mind and ready for you to just draw on, this gives you a lot more confidence because you're not trying to have like some kind of Google Doc with like 200 possible answers and all of these different things. And then you get like kind of mumbled and jumbled and like not really know which one to focus on. So having 5 clear top stories identified really clearly with a framework on how to pivot them no matter to what you're asked, is going to save you so much time. So what I like to do, I always tell my clients, take 10 minutes to look up the company, the industry, the audience, who you're speaking to, so that you can adopt your top 5 stories to who you're speaking to, right? Let's break this down. If you are invited to an interview, one of the first things you're going to do is open up your file. You already would have done the pre-work to know what your top stories are. You're going to identify 5 of them for the role. And then what you're going to do is think about how to tailor it and adapt it to the audience that you're speaking to, right? So for example, if it's a specific industry, you've worked in that industry, maybe you're pulling a story in from there. Then what you're going to have is these top 5 stories top of mind, where you're just like, yep, okay, so I've done this. This is probably something I want to bring up. And when you're asked an interview question, like, tell me about a time you did, you led a project. How did it go? What did you learn? Then you bring in one of those stories. Or they're asked, like, tell me something that you're proud of from your career. Then you bring up one of those stories that are a match for this role. So this is the exact same strategy that my client used Renata to land her director of compensation role in under 3 months as well, where it often takes much longer, especially at that leadership level. So this works at every single level, whether it's entry level, mid-level, senior level. Having those top 5 stories and practicing them before you're even invited to an interview is going to help you only take 30 minutes and pivot it to the type of opportunity that you're going for. So why does this work? I know this is super high level. I literally have like 20 hours of recordings breaking down exactly how to answer every single interview question within my resources that I share with my clients. But the reason that this works so well at the end of the day, it's because you've done it before and you have something that you can pull on that's top of mind. So instead of being nervous because you're not sure what they'll ask and try to answer every single interview question under the sun, you are prepared. You've done the pre-work. You have a solid framework that Lens offers. It's proven. It's a system. So you feel confident. Your confidence goes up. And then when you have that 30 minutes, you're just pulling in those 5 stories that you already, have worked through on your resume. They're already probably somewhere in your pitch as well. And you're practicing them based on the opportunity at hand. That is where the magic happens. So what I often hear from people is that they get inside of their head and they're like, I had this one client, she actually, a very interesting story, but she had laid out, she's like, Irina, look at this. This is my office right now, preparing for an interview. She had like literally papers everywhere. And I'm like, no, that's not how we prepare. This is not what I'm teaching you. Like, you're not following the 5-story process, the top story process. And once we refined that, she was much more confident. And that is what many people do. I remember actually in the past, I also had this long Google Doc with like a billion examples of everything that I've done. And like, I would hope that I would remember in the interview, but all that ended up doing was making me more nervous in the interview because I wasn't focused. So when you focus on the perfect match of your top accomplishments to the role at hand, and you have a framework that you've practiced ahead of time where you know how to interview confidently, it is like a breeze. It is like a walk in the park. And that's why you've heard that Kayla and Afsana that have been on the podcast be able to talk about the confidence that they had interviewing, which of course led to both of them getting multiple offers. Because that's exactly what happens. Most people struggle in interviews because they try to answer everything. They ramble, they over-explain, they lack clarity, they don't have a framework, a clear framework. And this is where a lot of clients are when I start to work with them as well. But when you prepare for every single interview question under the sun, you're really diluting your impact. The secret is being able to narrow down what really matters, because this is an executive communication skill. And guess what? Even if you're interviewing for mid-level roles, you are going to need executive communication because you are speaking to people that are more senior than you, right? Your interviewer could be directors, they could be VPs, sometimes C-suite. And at smaller companies, you could literally be interviewing with the CEO, even though you're going for a mid-level role. The more senior you are, and this is, being able to have executive presence no matter what role you're going for and no matter who you're speaking to is so, so important. And having a framework that is clear, concise, and confident is so important. And that's exactly what I teach inside of my coaching programs. So if you're ready to work together and you're like, Irina, I've been waiting for the right time. I just opened up 3 more spots in one-on-one coaching with me. All you have to do is email me and I will share the details with you and we can hop on a call to discuss. These opportunities are very, very limited as well because I only take on 3 clients at a time. There are 2 types of people that I see in interviews where the interview doesn't end up landing like they wanted, and it often doesn't translate to an offer. The first type is the person that rambles and rambles and rambles and they over-explain everything. And I can spot it from a mile away because I'll ask people questions when we are hopping into a call and I can see how directly they answer that question or if they're just kind of rambling and over-explaining and going in circles. So that is the first type of interviewer that I see, the over-explaining, sharing too much information that isn't as relevant, and then it dilutes their impact. Now, the second type that I see is actually the person that is frozen. And this has been me before. And so I'm typically the one that freezes, shockingly enough. And I remember being nervous and I just froze. And I was asked, like, why would you be great for this role? And I completely froze. And I started forgetting about why I'm completely qualified for that role and why I'd be great. So that's the second category where you get so nervous, you can't think clearly, and then you draw a blank, and then you might say something that you later regret. So that's why if you take nothing else away from today's episode, what I want you to take away is as you're preparing, the preparation starts before any interview is booked. Okay. So it's like what I like to do with clients is make sure they have a resume that's going to land them interviews. And right after that, they're heading into interview prep, even though they may not have an interview. And that preparation takes a little bit of time and thought and strategy, and you learn the framework of how to answer. But once an interview comes, you take 30 minutes, you look at the role, you look at the audience, and then you're able to pick out the top stories that are super effective for that specific conversation. And that's the secret to really narrowing down and focusing in on what really matters. Clarity, conciseness, confidence. And that is exactly what will land you that job offer. So a couple of things in the show notes. If you are ready to get more tips on interviewing, I have my interview guide below. But if you are really ready to learn exactly what it takes to land your next role in 90 days or less, I have a free training for you in the show notes as well. It is 90 minutes long. It will change the game for you. And I cannot wait to hear what your biggest insight is. As always, please share and review this podcast and share it with someone that may need to hear this message. It is so helpful for me to spread the message of someone that may need to hear this so they are not stuck in their job search for months and months and months on end without seeing the results that they deserve. Now, remember, in closing, you do not need hours to prepare. You just need the right strategy, and you need to focus on your top 5 stories and step into that interview with confidence. Show them exactly why you're the right fit, and you will get that offer. I'm super confident in you, and I can't wait to see you in next week's episode. Goodbye. Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.